Hey guys, I'm realmokong and welcome to another tutorial, and this time you will learn how to make an animated bifold windows from 3ds Max to Lumion. So stay tuned after this intro. This video tutorial is a response on a comment from Mr. Minimal Design NZ. I think he's from New Zealand, and he was asking if I could share on how did I animate my bifold windows on my recent animation project. So for Minimal Design NZ, I will try to replicate what I did in my animation, and thank you for your comment. And guys, please watch this video from start to finish because I will be explaining the settings step, and also I will be giving tips on how to have a good workflow on your project involving animated objects. So keep watching this video and let's start. The first thing we do is to set up our animation settings in 3ds Max, and to do that is we go to time configuration and we choose custom, and we make our FPS or the frames per second to 25, and then we choose our video to PAL. The default in 3ds Max is NTSC. So these are the settings that we need to configure in 3ds Max in order for our animation to work well with Lumion, because Lumion and 3ds Max are entirely different softwares and there will be limitations. So if we go to Lumion website under knowledge base, it's all in here. So we set our frame rate or the FPS in 25 frames per second, and then our video is set to PAL. And as I said, there are limitations. We can only use move, rotate, and scale for our animation. And lastly, the most important thing that you will do in making animation in 3ds Max is to add a keyframe at the last frame of your animation. So what does this mean? So we press this OK. So in 3ds Max, we have this timeline here. This is our timeline, and this thing right here are called keyframes, and this number here represents the frames, the number of frames from 0 to 200. Right now I set this to 200, but anytime you can change this. You go back to time configuration under animation and the length. Here is 200. If I change this to 300, this will also be 300. So, okay. So if you are doing animation, always make sure that you will have a keyframe on the last frame of your animation. So in this case, it is 200. So I will add a keyframe in the 200 frame of my animation, because once you import this in Lumion will read each of these keyframes that you have set in 3ds Max. So if you forget to put a keyframe here, Lumion will only read this keyframe, the last frame that you have set. Okay. Now we will try to animate our bifold window by using dummies. If we go to helpers, then dummy are 3D objects and 3ds Max that are non-renderable. So if we make a dummy and then we put this dummy on the pivot point of our bifold window. Okay, so one right here and another one right here and another one here. Okay, and this one on the other side. Okay. Next is to link our panels to our dummies. To do that is to click the link here. We select our first panel, then we link it to our first dummy, and then we click our second panel, we link it to our second dummy, and the third, we link it to the third dummy. Okay, now what will happen is that we can rotate our panel, but if we rotate our dummy, the panel will follow, and also to this dummy also, and the third one. Now what we will do is to link these dummies. Okay, so if we link again our first dummy, we will link to the second dummy, and our second dummy we will link to our third dummy. So right now, if we rotate our first dummy, okay, we can still rotate it, but if we rotate our second dummy, the first dummy will follow, and if we rotate our third dummy, the two dummies will follow. We are done setting up the dummies. Now, in order to have a good workflow dealing with animated objects on your scene, I will give you some tips. The best thing you do is to have a plan, execute a plan on your animated object, and there are two things that you will need to do. Number one is to identify the object or objects that you will animate. In my project, I have a bifold door, bifold window, and a couple of drawers. I list them down because later on, I will exclude it when exporting the model of the house. I will export them separately, so it would be easier for me to work on in Lumion. Number two is the duration. So how do we know the duration of your animated object? This solely depends on the duration of your animation clip in Lumion. As a rule of thumb, the duration of your animation clip should be the same with the duration of your animated object in 3ds Max. So in our example, I want to have an animation clip on the kitchen. I want to show the parts of the kitchen and the opening of bifold window. I plan to animate this for about 8 seconds, and that will be enough for my bifold window to open completely. So if we try to do an 8 seconds of animation, we will multiply it by 25 frames per second. Why 25? It's because that's the frame rate that we have set in the time configuration. So it's here, 25. So 8 multiplied by 25 is 200 frames. Now we will start animating our windows, and we have around 200 frames to work on it. In our timeline, we have already set to 200 frames. So there's no need to change the length because it's already 200. Now we will enable our set key. As you can see, our timeline is in red. So we can now start making keyframes. What I always do is to have an initial movement of my object. Wait. I will change the angle snap to 1. So every time I will rotate, it will be by 1 degree. And then I will click the angle snap. Now I will rotate this by maybe around 10 degrees. And then I will bring it back to its original position. And then I will select all the dummies. Then I will add my keyframe. So we already made our first keyframe. Now what I want to do with my bifold windows is to rotate first the first panel by 1.5 seconds. That will be around 37.5 frame or 38 frames. So I will move my timeline to 38 frame. Then I will rotate my first panel around 88 degrees, not 90, because in real world there will be imperfections. You cannot achieve 90 degrees all the time. So I will select the dummies and then add another keyframe. Okay. Next is to make our bifold window fully open. So I will move my timeline to 175th frame. This is where our window to be fully opened. And about 7, this is 7 seconds of our animation. So I will still have around 1 second here of allowance. So now we will make this fully opened. Okay. I will rotate this by maybe around 88 degrees. And then select this dummy here and will rotate by maybe around 264 degrees. Okay. And then I will select my dummies and then set another key. Okay. Next is to move my timeline to the 200 frame, and then I will add another keyframe here because as what I've said last time is that we need to add a keyframe in the last frame of our animation. I think we are done, and let's play the animation by clicking this button. As you can see, the first panel will open first, and then the second and the third panel will follow. This is how a bifold window with 3 panels will open in real world. It will not move all the 3 panels simultaneously. So it is important to know how will the object will move or operate in real world in order to have a more realistic movement of your animation. Now let's try to look at it from another angle. Let's play the animation. I think I'm fine with this, and we can now export this as an FBX file. But we need to know first our origin. Okay. So to know the origin, we go to top. Okay. This is our origin. So if we try to import our bifold window in Lumion, this origin will be our pivot point. So this is very important. Okay. So now if I will show you all the objects of this file, this bifold window is part of this tiny house, and most of the FBX file that I made from this tiny house, its pivot point is from this origin. So if I will import my bifold window in Lumion, I will align this to the pivot point of the FBX files from this tiny house. So this is very important. Okay, so now let's try to export this. So later on I will show you how to align this bifold window to in Lumion. Okay, now we go to file, select the object, export selected. Okay, and just go here, and I'm gonna name this maybe sample bifold window. Okay. And then save. Now when saving it as an FBX file, you need to check the animation. Okay, and press OK. Now let's go to Lumion. In Lumion, we will import our bifold window, sample bifold window, and then under import animations, we will click this on so that we will import it as an animated object. And if you will leave this off, it will be imported as a still object. So we click this on and then press OK. Now we already have our bifold window. So as I mentioned in today's max, that your toggle point in your bifold window in Lumion is the origin of in 3ds max. Okay, this is the toggle point. Now what we'll do is to align this bifold window to our tiny house, and most of the object here in the 3ds max, the origin is this point here. So we will align this bifold window to this origin. So to do that is to click first the origin of the tiny house, and then that will be our target, and then we press Ctrl and we will select the bifold window, and then under this tab here we will click align positions, and now our bifold window is perfectly aligned to our tiny house. Okay, now we will make our animation clip. So we go to the movie mode. Now we will make some clip. We click record, and then we will make this linear. Okay, so what I will do is to make this around 35 millimeter. Okay, that's fine. Then in this animation clip, I will show the part of the kitchen as well as the bifold window. So I just add the camera, then I just push the camera, something like that, and then I will add another camera. Then I will make this as I planned. This is 8 seconds. Okay, now let's see how this play. Now as you can see, we don't have any issues with our animations. Okay, then I think this, okay, and save clip. Now as you can see, the duration of our bifold window is perfectly match with the duration of our animation clip. As I said earlier, that as a rule of thumb, the duration of your animated object should be the same with the duration of your animation clip. Now, what if you did not plan anything and then you make this around, let's say, 15 seconds? Okay. Let's see what will happen. Okay, go back. Now it's working fine, but after the 8 second, it will loop, right? So it is very important in making animated object in 3ds Max to Lumion is that you need to have a plan, and then yeah, the duration should be the same. Okay, so now let's bring it back to 8. Now let's try to add some effects. Let's go to menu, file, load effects. Now I will show you my typical render settings for my tiny house project. I have an exterior, interior, and night settings. Maybe I will have a separate video for this, explaining the settings and how to use it. And also, this will be available for free to my subscribers. So check out for that video soon. And for this clip, I'm gonna select interior, since this is an interior scene. Now I'm gonna show you the preview of this render setting. So guys, if you want a copy of this render setting, it will be available soon for free to my subscribers. Okay, so I think that's all for this video. Maybe I will make a follow-up video for this, wherein I will be making a bifold door, because this one is bifold window, and it will be a much shorter video than this one, since I will not explain all the settings. So thank you guys for watching, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more tutorial videos. I'm realmokong, and I'll see you next time. Bye.